Detroit is different. Detroit is different. I can feel it. Detroit is different.
Welcome back to Detroit is Different, but we're not in Detroit is Different Studios. We're actually in the podcast studio of General Baker Institute. And if you're asking what yourself General Baker Institute is, you're going to find out a little bit about that in this story. But also, you need to be checking out what we do with Detroit is Different, because last year we did our State of Black Detroit 2024 at General Baker Institute. And the connections of what General Baker Institute is to our city are definitely heavy. So to get us here, we connected with somebody that is connected in the city. In an interview I've waited on for a while, but this is gonna be fun. Maureen Taylor, how are you today?
I'm wonderful and humbled to be here finally. Okay.
Yes. All right, so Detroit is different. Always start with one question, but just so that people get an understanding, you're going to get some legacy of a lot of advocacy, activism, organizing in this discussion. Even connecting to when I interviewed Mama Amara, and she was saying like, no, we was doing this back when y'all was, exactly. So we always start these with family and ties to Detroit. How many generations deep are you and your family to Detroit?
Well, my mom was born in the city of Detroit. My dad was born in Arkansas. So I'm at least third generation Detroiter, and have been here when things were just beginning to unwind in the city of Detroit. My grandfather, his name was William Freeman, and William Freeman was the owner of the first black cab company. A lot of people think that that's City Cab. It is not. The first black cab company in the Detroit area was the Exchange Cab Company. So Granddad was born in Cordele, Georgia, and had to come to Detroit chased by the Klan because he was starting to make money. So he came to Detroit. And now we're talking about the exodus of those folks looking for a warmer sun. You know the book and the movie if you haven't seen it. And he came with that group in the 1910s and 20s, worked a little bit for factories, and then began to accumulate more revenues to buy taxi cabs, because in those days, African Americans were not picked up by cab companies. So between Papa, who is William Freeman Jr., and he had 9 kids, 4 boys, 4 girls, and 1 more girl, and that's the one that's in the middle, and that's my mother, Pauline. So that's where I came from, a long way back. Okay, all right.
I still want to ask a little bit more. We always got like those origin stories, and I definitely got some questions about your grandfather. But before we go there, Cordele, Georgia, you ever been down there? What's the city?
I have never been there. I have researched it and looked it up and found information about it. Have asked multiple relatives of mine, let's go to Cordele, Georgia, because I think Papa had land there, and we need to go and look and see. We may have property in Cordele, Georgia, Cordele. And everybody said, all right, I'm going to be ready to go when you're ready. And, of course, we never went. So that's the roots of where we come from, but I have no history, details that connects me to what kind of lifestyle he might have been living in Cordele, Georgia.
Okay, and you also mentioned Arkansas, as I have some roots from Arkansas, and a lot of folks from Arkansas usually go further west. We're looking at a lot of the Chicago, Arkansas connection, Mississippi, Chicago, even California. So what brought somebody from Arkansas up this way?
We're talking about the Great Migration of African Americans leaving Jim Crow. So The Warmth of Other Suns is a wonderful book. And what it detailed were the efforts that not only African Americans, but Latinos and Native Americans employed to get away from the lynchings and the burnings and the murders and the Jim Crow night rides. And so Arkansas is a Southern atmosphere. I'll say it like that. And my dad, who, by the way, his mother was or is a Native American. Okay. And they moved him and my grandfather from Cordele, Georgia, and they came to Detroit. And what was happening in Detroit in the 1910s and 20s? Here come Henry Ford. Here come these car manufacturers, $5 a day employment offer. And so they all came to get rid of some things, but to try to open up a brand new life for the rest of the family. So cars, automobile production has a lot to do with me, my family, and the fact that I wear blue collars. And it's that way for a reason. Not only am I African American, but I'm a blue collar African American from way back.
Okay, I already love it. I love it. I love it. And as you speak more so even in that, now I got to ask, what side of town? Where did Granddad settle upon coming to Detroit?
Well, I don't know where his first property was. What I know is that he contacted, that's the family story, he contacted his kids and said, I'm going to buy these properties. And people laugh at me, but I remember exactly where my mother and father moved to before I had a mother and father.
Wow.
And that was 1735 McDougall between Sherman and Madison. Zip code 48207. Our phone number was Woodward 50882. That's where my history and whatnot started, and this was a two-family flat, that my granddad bought, and the property across the street had two apartments on the second floor. On the first floor, it was a convenience store where you could buy candy, chips, pop, and whatever else. And around the corner, he had a single home where my Uncle Tommy and his wife Jean lived. So my grandfather bought those properties, and the kids, if they didn't already have a place to live, we moved there.
Oh, okay, so man, oh man, I have some questions about your granddad.
I know you had no idea.
So at the time, and even to the house that we record Detroit is different in, and what I have, I mean, you know, it's on the deed paperwork about who can and who can't buy. And definitely back then, the who can't buy was very upfront, and I urge a lot of people to look at those deeds. It still says colored person can't buy. I'm very aware of like my grandfather, like in the 40s, but the 50s, especially like late 40s, 50s. I mean, that's kind of as reparations. Ray Jenkins was getting involved as a realtor and things like that. But we're talking even before then. What were some of the relations like? How was your granddad navigating this?
Well, race always has a component in every fight that happens in the United States of America. Always. It's a question of sliver, sometimes more than a sliver of race. But the bottom line, the real reason why people get taunted and injured and whatnot is because of your resources and your money. And here's my grandfather with enough money when he came, the way the story goes, in a casket, all the way to Detroit, Michigan. And I'm not sure who it was that said, go to Detroit, except this migration, this exodus was happening. And he got here, went to the factory, worked for a year or two, whatever it was, had enough money, and started to realize the taxi service is influential. And bought the first 3 cabs and hired his 3 oldest sons, which would be William Jr., Jeff, who his real name is Clarence, and who was the third? Robert Freeman, and hired those 3 of his kids to be taxi cab drivers. Well, the Black experience was starting to explode. The Apollo Theater in New York was the place. All kinds of things were going on. Money started to be flowing in different directions. Hairdressers realized that they couldn't go to the white person's beauty shop. Funeral directors realized that they couldn't go to the white people's funeral home, so women started going to their own beauty shops. Cole's funeral home, Mr. Cole, all of those things had to be created. And here's my grandfather. I used to call him little old grandfather. He was 6'6". Here he is buying taxi cabs. And there were people starting to work at these factories that wanted to take a taxi cab from this place to that place. He ended up with about 25 taxi cabs.
Wow.
And people were paying money to buy cabs.
Wow.
And so the wealth started to be created. He bought 2 or 3 more properties in Detroit and then decided right around the 1940s that he was going to have a house built from scratch in Belleville, Michigan.
Wow.
And he and my grandmother moved there. The taxi cab service continued. Layoffs started to happen even then, but I think his final fleet for years was somewhere around 19 or 20 exchange cabs, and they took care of African Americans, black folks that didn't want to be called African American, and anybody else that needed a taxi cab, and helped to fund the next group, the quote competition of city cabs. John Martin. I know all these names because as a little girl, they took me to school. And they would pick me up and take me to school when I was little. So the wealth component started to be built. And it stayed a very long time. He finally sold all of the taxi cabs because he had enough money by the end, and then made all of his sons independent drivers. So
definitely the wealth stands out, but also the brilliance and entrepreneurial approach to this, seeing definitely a space in the market where you can definitely serve a group of people that are not served at all. And he ends up fulfilling that. And I mean, to even think about a fleet of 25-something cars today would be something that is remarkable. But then, I mean, I assume this is at a time when, most people don't even have a vehicle.
True.
And he has multiple vehicles. I could only imagine the security, the record keeping, the relationships that your grandfather created, and then also this presents a different type of initiative that a man may take as far as your aunts, your uncles, your parents, and even you being witness to seeing something like this. A lot of the narratives that are usually told is like, we don't see this or we don't see that in our community. You were having direct access to seeing a lot of taking your mind, serving where the people need something, and having the people still engage and interact with us.
See, this was not unusual to me because this is my family and the way I grew up inside my family. And when the stories were told that Papa had to leave Cordele, Georgia and come up north, and I thought, Klan people are bad, and I got that message. But he already had made a decision, and I'm sure his kids were part of that. My grandma's name was Virene. And I'm sure they had discussions, what can we do to try to sustain our families? And Papa already had the concept, nobody is going to pick up these black folks and take them to where they want to go. That's happening on the one hand. But on the other hand, you have these factories that are saying for $5 a day, we're going to give you a job. And here these black folks don't have their own car. Well, how we going to work this out? Well, here's a guy with an idea. He says, why don't we get 2 or 3 taxi cabs and start to move people around? The ladies, I want to go someplace to get my hair done, but I have to go way out over here. Miss Julia, get to ride way over there. Well, okay, on the bus. Sometimes it's dangerous on the bus. And here comes Papa. Would you like to go out there? Just call us a cab, and you can go. Thinking, seeing, knowing, and felt that this is an opportunity that might assist my family. And natural to me, I didn't think anything of it. Papa come to the house. The little dog we had would try to bite him on his ankles. And my granddad would get away and kick the dog. And he'd go to the table and start adding up his receipts. Natural. That's what you're supposed to do.
And you're just seeing this most time. And then this is another thing that I'm sure, especially like anybody in Gen Z is like looking, but check the archives of Detroit is different, where my interview with Gladys Bettis, Jerome's mother, and some of her first work from leaving commerce was being a switch operator too, because also telephones were not as abundant, and also the way that you call
That's correct.
a cab, it was more in the process.
It was.
In switching. Like right now, we have these cell phones and, you can text and connect and everything. Yeah. But before, you kind of went through someone and patching in. But even having access to the phone itself and the switchers, that was one heck of an operation that your granddad put together.
If you're going to run a cab company, you have to try to envision a way for customers to call the cab company and with the address of where they needed to ride. So here comes resources, but here comes ingenuity as well. You have to figure these tech things out, because you can't. The people that want a cab and not standing on the corner waving a flag had to find their way. Yeah. And my grandfather and the folks that he worked with found a way to not only employ workers who had to know the city area. They had to figure out where they were going. There's no AI in the car and all of that kind of stuff. So however it happened, it was about resources being accumulated, understand and envisioning the need. What is that these folks need that, all of us can benefit from? And they were able to, and again, I'm looking, I don't know what I'm looking at. What I did realize after some years later, that my granddad and his family, my mother was number 5, right in the middle. They had some ideas on how they could secure some futures for themselves. All of my uncles, every one of them for a period of time, worked at a factory. But this concept, boy, that's tough work, dirty work. I don't know, might do something else. And Papa said, well, here, I'm going to give you this cab and you can be an independent driver. Hey, let's figure out how to work that out. At the right time, here comes World War II, 1941 through 1945. They all joined a branch of the armed services. One was a Marine, one was Air Force person, one was Army, and what's the other one? Whatever the other one was. Each one of them joined the Marines. My aunts started to run the business after they were gone. Okay. And here we go. We were off and running. And to me, I didn't think anything of it. It appeared to me that in my home, in my community, Black Bottom, this is the way we live. We didn't need anything else from anybody else. We had everything in my block.
Yeah, and even
who knew?
You present that during that time, and we look at as like, what do they call it, the wartime economy of then. But so many women enter into spaces where traditionally men would be, but now we're getting into Black women in that space of entrepreneurship in executing those plans. I could only imagine more and more of that confidence that you're seeing only built, and really so much of the boldness that you've taken ever since I've known you. So now I guess we got to get closer to that. You and your upbringing, the home you stayed in that you remember most as a child, where was that?
Well, a couple of things. I'll start more recent, then I'll quickly revert back. My cousin Poochie, and I only knew her as Cousin Poochie, was one of the first Black women's auxiliary league armed services person. She just passed away just a few weeks ago. And, we never saw anything like this. A lady joining the Army, and she had her uniform on and her linen skirt and her hat to the side and was overseas. And we tried to figure out what? Black people in the Army? And she showed us something. She served whatever her time was. And when she came back, she had something called veteran benefits. Something else new. What's that? From there, I'll go backwards. The community I lived in, again, 1735 McDougall, between Sherman and Madison, right around the corner from Joe Louis. Natural. Rolettes lived right to the right, and they were attorneys, husband and wife. Natural. I thought that's where all black people lived. The people on the left, I've forgotten the name of the church that they had, and it was a huge church, and every year they had a parade to honor the senior pastor and his wife. And they would, big, beautiful Cadillac cars come down the street, and by then they had pictures, 9x12 pictures of the senior pastor and his wife. And they had this parade with balloons and clowns and, 40 minutes to get down McDougall. Wow. And they got to the house next door, and they'd get out, and one of the ladies in the fellowship community would get out and go in and get the big picture, take it back out and put it in the back seat of a full-length Cadillac and drive on.
So driving with the picture alone?
Driving with the picture alone. You'd have nothing but the drive, and the picture was in the back seat. And I thought, normal. This is where everybody lives,
Man.
But I had to walk from our neighborhood down to, Duffield Elementary School. But by the time I got to high school, we were talking about St. Elizabeth's and walking down McDougall to Gratiot, and then you took the bus. All right, that's because this is all residential on McDougall. Across the street on McDougall, right at the corner of Gratiot, was a restaurant that sold hamburgers for 12 cents. And they were the best hamburgers in life. So I'd go in there with my allowance. My father used to put allowance on the TV every day for me to buy my lunch.
Okay.
I went and bought them hamburgers every day. And then you walked on down to St. Elizabeth. And Catholic school was the place to go if you wanted a better education. And we were Baptists. And I still remember my father telling me, we're going to be Catholic because that's better for you. Okay, Daddy. Go down there, and it turns out to be accurate. Sister Joe say, we were friends for years afterwards until she passed, was the English teacher. Sister Mary Olympia was the math teacher who told me one day, Maureen, you got to stop that saying them bad words. Why? Stop that cursing in the classroom. Okay, and Maureen, you can learn geometry. I can't figure it out. You can learn geometry. I learned geometry. She taught it. I learned English. Everything I needed to know about how to understand the world came from my community. Everything. And I thought it was normal that all black people live like this.
So a couple things, and we've touched on this before in Detroit is Different. The relationship with parochial schools in Detroit.
Yes.
And some of those understandings. I mean, from the interviews highlighting how during the rebellion, what the sisters at Mary Grove did, and welcoming a lot more students into the school and staying open. Certain things have happened in Detroit, hence the name of the podcast. Detroit is Different.
Yeah.
That you definitely sometimes don't see, but you speak of your experience there. Was it predominantly black students at the school? What was that feel like?
Well, let me tell you a little bit more about that story. As I walked down the street, I knew that it was a difference between black people and white people. I didn't know anything about Latinos. I'd never seen them. And the Native Americans, I didn't know anything about Native Americans. They didn't live where I lived. And as I walked down the street and got to be friends, of course, with my buddies in high school, we had to pass by Andrew Wallagora's house. And Andrew Wallagora was the same age as me, 12, 13, 14, especially 15 years of age, and he was Polish. And we had to walk through McDougall through Polish areas. And I would get to his house and go to the side door, knock on the door. His mother would look, Andrew ready to go to school? Yeah, here he comes. Maureen, you want some pierogis? I don't know, what's that? And I'm learning a new cultural icon. Here comes Andrew. I still remember these names. I don't know why. And he come out with food items, sauerkraut and corned beef in a little bowl. His mother fixed lunch for him and for me. And they were Polish. I had no clue that they would ever be the enemy. They never were. Went a little further. Me and Andrew go to the side of the house, and Vincent Chiarino was Italian. Knock on the door. Is Vincent going to school today? Yeah, he'll be right out. Here Vincent comes out with a cheesecake and whatever else his mama was making. So here I am immersed in Black community, Polish community, Italian community. And by the time we got up there to St. Elizabeth's School, he had a great school and high school, I was involved with people of different nationalities, and we all engaged together. We have a party at the school, Catholic school. Everybody danced with me. I was cute. I'm cute now. But they were sure enough lining up. And we had a ball. Never had any problems. But I always wondered, just this one thing, I wonder why we always go to the side door. That was the only thing that stuck out to me. But then later on, it turned out that they all had rugs in the front room, and they wanted us to come to the side door because that's where the kitchen was. But I never saw a difference in the way that I was being treated. Probably wasn't looking at it anyway, wouldn't have noticed it.
Yeah.
But I was so lucky to come up with that kind of an existence where a little Italian guy was one of my best friends, a little Polish guy was one of my best friends, and some of the other people of color in my classroom. We grew up not only coming out of high school together, and we went to college together, and we hung out. I thought it was normal.
And as you speak of that, and this has been highlighted too, and that's what makes this everything, the social construct of race that truly is uplifted in American culture.
And that's why
so
Detroit is different.
Yeah.
That's why Detroit is different.
Yeah. And and like the root of whiteness really is around, German, English, and French. But many of these other, what we would say, other, the Irish, the Polish, the Italian, the Greek, that assimilation to whiteness, because some of the misunderstandings that led to a lot of violence and war over time, even in Europe, that even travels over to here. Hence, in a lot of the ghettos and even Black Bottom itself. I mean, that Eastern European influence, even of Hamtramck, is nothing like what you would expect of the German communities that were in Detroit.
Whole different era, whole different group of people. The luck that I enjoyed it was so much. And again, while you're living it, you're not paying attention that things are happening that may not be happening to anyone else. I lived in these days I call it a gated community. I lived in a community where nationalities lived next to each other, serviced each other, visited each other. But I was so lucky. We had our own barber shop. We had Kendall's drugstore. We had Marshall's grocery store, who was an Italian guy. And I would go there, and I don't have any money for candy. He'd get the candy dish out, and he handed it to me. Take a couple of pieces of candy, Maureen. I thought everybody lived like this. I had no idea that as I grew up, I started to see, wait a minute, there's something there that I probably haven't ever noticed before. But that's the luck that I had, a family that was steeped in entrepreneurship with taxi cabs. My mother worked at Michigan Bell. My father was a federal worker with the post office. We weren't hungry. Weren't hungry at the house. My grandfather would come by, and I want Maureen and Sister Sharon to have these things for Christmas. I thought everybody lived like that. And almost everybody on my block, we did. I'll say one more thing to you. You're a young guy. You don't know. Here we come on Halloween, and I had a costume. My mother would make something for me, and I'd go outside, and there were thousands of kids, Black, white, Italian, everybody else, thousands. And we all had grocery bags because you got handfuls of candy, handfuls of candy. I mean, my mother and everybody else always said, don't eat anything way out on the streets. Bring that candy back to the house. My mother dumped the candy on the table. Oh, my God. just looking at it, thinking about it now, I should have been diabetic 100 years ago.
Hilarious.
But all of this was the way we lived. And it
Mm.
was one police officer on my block, 2 or 3 blocks down. I don't know why I remember his name, Ben Brannon.
Mm.
Ben Brannon was a very tall, light-skinned African-American policeman.
Mm.
And on Halloween, he put a sheet on his head with 2 eyes cut out. And he lived upstairs, 3, 4 blocks away. And 30 kids would be on the steps knocking.
Mm.
Trick or treat, trick or treat. He'd wait till it get full.
Mm.
He opened the door and jumped.
Scared.
Everybody
Mhm.
fell backwards.
Mhm.
But nobody thought about putting a needle in an apple or a razor blade in a piece of candy. I mean, the whole neighborhood was peaceful. And everybody in it, we lived in harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was natural.
So as you just kind of just briefly touched on it, but now I definitely want to go a little further into it. College. Where do you go to college? What was your thought process towards college, and what were you thinking at that time as far as what you were looking to do in career and where you'd even want to live?
Well, the Black experience has now started to come into my psyche. And here I am at Highland Park Community College. And there were discussions being made. Why aren't there Black directors? Why don't we have more African-American instructors? And I'm looking, and hey, that is a problem. And starting to understand and realize there's something wrong with the way people are treated. And then there came a time where big demonstrations and we're not going back to school until these changes happen and all that kind of stuff. And here I am up on the roof of the college, mad because nobody wanted to listen to our team. So I was throwing rocks down and trying to hit the police. And there was a guy down there, General Baker, and I had just met him. And Jen was saying, Maureen, what are you doing? You don't even know what you're doing. Come down here. I came downstairs, and what? You don't know what you are fighting about yet. Well, no, I don't, but I know what was... Never mind. We're going to have to talk with you about some class issues, race issues, but you're going to have to learn a little bit more because you being on the roof of Highland Park Community College means you might get shot and killed and you won't even understand why. Here comes another little piece of information.
Okay, so this definitely ties directly into the Mama Amara interview. Love Mama Amara. One of the biggest supporters of Detroit is Different. And also another topic that's been uplifted a couple of times about Highland Park Community College and the relationship that school had with a lot of ways with the region and even the hospital there. Because now, I mean, the class I took was, I took German in high school. And Frau Ellis at King would always have these different people from Germany. And all the time the Germans would come, they would always want to go to the McGregor Library. They'd want to look at the design of the community college, because a lot of the German influence in the build and design of those houses in Highland Park, it's something that they appreciate. But not just the architecture, but the school itself had a lot of impacts on so many people. I mean, the Coco interview, it's so many other interviews, but Highland Park Community College, before we even get into a lot of what was happening, definitely when it comes to the activism and how far that was from Baker Institute at the time, what led you to think about going to Highland Park Community College? What was your thought process to even, as you were, enrolling there?
I almost burned the house down that we were living in when I was about 8, 9 to 10 years old. And we had bunk beds, and I was on the top bunk. And I was a reader. I wanted to read. I loved reading. So all of these books, my parents bought books. I just loved to learn more. And I tied a handkerchief around a lamp, the light bulb, and it caught fire. And I was right up there with it. I keep smelling something burning. What is it? Oh! And pull everything down. Now, however it happened, I wanted to be a person that wanted to learn more. And the only way I knew I could learn more is that I got to get in this book, and I have to read sonnets of Shakespeare. I have to read The Phoenix. I have to read these black novels and these stories that were unfolding. I had to read all those things if I wanted to imagine how I might be there to one of these places at some point. So here we are at Highland Park Community College. I'm throwing rocks down. Jen says, come down here because you're going to get killed. And I went there and I started to learn. I'm involved in all these different demonstrations about race, about class, about race and about class. And another fella that I had just met called me. And I was in my early 20s, mid-20s. And his name was Murray Jackson. And Murray Jackson ended up being the first president of Wayne County Community College. They didn't have any campuses or nothing else. And I knew him. And he, however it happened, Maureen, come to my office. I mean, you ain't going to never get no job because you keep protesting and you have nothing to back up for to ensure your future. And we got this initiative coming up, WC3, and I want you to take a class. I don't want to take it. I want you to take a class. All right. So I went to school. And here I am in Wayne County Community College reading, trying to prepare for my desired employment opportunity. At that time, I wanted to be a undertaker because by then I'm starting to don't like people. And I thought if I become a mortician, I don't have to deal with folks. The people I do have to deal with, they had no opinion about nothing.
I was going to say, I don't think if they say something, we get into all types of stuff.
You see? And then there just came a moment where I thought, I'm being driven, but it's not the mortician classes. It's something else that's in me and it looks like I need to help people more. And here comes social work. And so I started moving in that direction. Murray Jackson, another person that saved me, and I thought it was normal.
You just laid something heavy on me. I had no idea that Highland Park Community College existed before WC3.
It did.
I had no idea.
They had no buildings. They had an office and another office, and Murray Jackson was, again, first president, and he found me. I knew him. I don't even know how it is I know him. Demonstrations of some sort, and we met up. But he was the one that said, please come and start taking some undergraduate courses. Okay. And he saved me. Look at all the people that saved me and pushed me to the next level every step of the way. And I trusted them. I trusted all of them.
Now, social workers, and we've interviewed some people that have definitely done studies in it. My grandmother was a social worker, and social work today versus the stories that I get from like my aunt and even my mother would share of my grandmother's work there, because she was kind of connected under the guise of this is old school, under like the parish of some of the Presbyterian churches, because some of these wings and the outreach and the relationship even between the faith-based institutions and community function differently. We're looking at like the 50s and the 60s then. Your thought process and in social work at that time, and even to my interview with Annie Handy, another that's a good one too. And she even shares even that Attorney Culpepper was one of the social workers at one point in time that was as Wayne County was getting everything kind of started with the schools and also kind of like an aunt of mine, Aunt Emily Garland that started Lulabelle Stewart Center. It's a lot of it's some attention into social work 50s and 60s that is like, I guess from what I'm gathering, and you may be able to let me know, the work kind of that role of church is not as active as, you get later in the 60s as it was in the 50s. What were some of those transitions where the church was not as involved in some of what we would think the social worker is kind of touching on?
Well, after my period of time, 2 years at Wayne County Community College, By now, I'm immersed in great big Afro, everything that has to do with social justice. I'm in the front.
Yes.
And I don't like what I've been seeing. And so all of the remnants of my life up until that moment, I'm connecting the dots. And there are things that are very strange. Now, coming out of St. Elizabeth, you know, I knew Latin. I learned all those things. And religious institutions had a lot to do with what was going on in the Black community. Everybody I knew was either a Baptist with Reverend Juan Burt or they were Catholic. So both of those things had a lot to do with influencing me. Juan Burt, Presbyterian Church, I think it was, and after school was over, we had Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all kind of activities. The place to learn life was at your school because there were extra activities going on in all places. Same thing over at St. Elizabeth. After school was over, you had cooking classes and all this kind of stuff. You'd be lucky if you got home before 7 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And it was all there. Now, as I proceed, and I'm in Wayne County Community College, I got a job. I can't even remember what the job was, and then something came to my attention, and I ended up at, I remember it was Sister Mary Fitzgerald over at Mary Grove College, and I met her through a series of whatever, a little short Anglo-American woman that used to scare me. She was in every march I ever met and had her hand raised. And I thought, you know, she's righteous. Come on over here to Mary Grove College. So I didn't have any money to go to Mary Grove College, but then I understood if my grades were good, I could get scholarships. I went to Mary Grove College, passed some tests, got some scholarships, and I graduated with my undergraduate degree in social work in 1984. The first vice president of the Association of Black Social Workers makes me tear up to think about it. Ernestine Miller. And Ernestine was the first president, militant, proud. We gonna change Mary Grove, and they gonna have to be more accessible to the needs of the community. We did. I was the second president of the Association of Black Social Work Students. And I say, I gave the commencement speech in 1984.
Wow.
From Mary Grove College. And now I'm bit by not only the fight for social justice, the fight for worker relief, all these unions, I'm involved in everything, and their uncle, all of that's going on. And Dr. Shea, who was the president at that time, we used to hold not only memorial sessions when somebody would get killed by bankrupt police, but the college was very active in terms of activism. And it was Dr. Shea that said, you can't stop here. You need to go to a bigger place and get more education because it looks like you're deemed to be a leader of people. And he brought me the application and told me what I need to do. And now here I am at Wayne State University. And I still don't have any money. And I met with a lady who I really liked a lot. Her name was Maryann Mahaffey. And she said, you know, you're going to have to, you know, take these classes. I don't have any money to take no classes like that. She said, I will pass you over in terms of funds and relief. And I've been sitting in class at Wayne State University, and the teacher would take attendance. And Kyrie and Mary and Sam, and, you know, I'm looking around, everybody raising their hand. And after a while, the teacher said, well, who are you? I'm sitting in class. I'm sitting in on education. And she did her paperwork and fixed it so I could go to school and several more scholarships. I got my master's degree in 1993 and again was one of the leaders of that school. Every step of the way, I got a friend that helped me to move in the right direction. So when I first met Lonnie Peake, who said, you got to join New Detroit. What's that? Here I was again in a certain predicament, and I'm learning, and I'm learning, and I'm learning. Detroit is different because this didn't just happen to me. There were other people that got pushed along the way, and we didn't know that we were getting pushed.
Okay, so
wow.
you definitely, you spoke the name of one of the one of the key architects when we think of many of the ordinances that exist in law in the city of Detroit right now. Council member Maryann Mahaffey for years, and her background in social work that connects it, which in my interview with Santel Jenkins this year, she was speaking more so of that relationship and the understanding of her belief that role and the compassion that a social worker has for people.
Yes.
And humanity definitely still can guide through in policy to help more people massively. And so many of the efforts that Maryann Mahaffey and certainly Irma Henderson do as well team up and deliver. That's just immense in the angle of Detroit, but you're also walking the path of a series of different institutions, from Highland Park to, like, I guess, a starting WC3, then over to Wayne State, and looking at the guide, and in Marygrove too. These are like definitely institutions of higher education in a time that, I guess, certainly we think of like just business and what General Motors stands for, but your thought process is still for like what we would call humanities of people. And you're in the work of advocacy, which kind of brings me back to more so like that General Baker that you meet that day. Are you just staying engaged with the work of General Baker and a lot more of the activists during this time as you're in school? What's the path of like the fights and the causes that you're taking on the ground?
Well, when you meet a person like Maryann Mahaffey, there's certain stars that fall on your head, because she was about the business of hating poverty, hating racism. And she took me under her wing and helped me get through those first several weeks, several months. And I was, we were really good friends. And you learn advocacy, and you learn to ask the question, why are people poor? Why are people being mistreated? And you start to learn those things because you watched those that were already engaged in that battle. So again, I love these books. I like TV. I want to read the historical things. I want to watch the historical things. Robin Hood, he was a good person. You got Saxons and Normans. What's this about? And I'm trying to learn as I'm going to phase after phase. So the educational component was always there. The humanitarian component was always there. But Jen, and along the way, I'm now a young married person, and my husband laid off work at Chrysler, one of the original members of the League of Revolutionary Black Workers. Wow. And I'm upset because we ain't got no job. We live in a 12787 Mendota. Why do I know these numbers? And couldn't pay the rent. And it was something else that was wrong. And then the question becomes, well, what are you going to do? So, okay, we're going to get some shotguns because we know this guy named A-Trap Brown, and we've been watching him. And we're going to go get us some pistols and whatever, and we're going to go to Farmer Jack or wherever, and we're going to buy some food or we're going to shoot somebody. And I'm going down the steps, and I'm ready, and open the door, and there was a young woman standing there. What's this? Maureen, you got to start coming over to these meetings that we've been having. And her name was Marian Kramer. And now here is the next person that picked me up and moved me over here. We get to a welfare office because she didn't heard my story. I can't feed my family. My husband can't feed the family. It was just he and I, and they won't help me at the welfare office. So she said, well, meet me up at the Linden office. It's not even there anymore. And I went to the Linden office, and I'm trying to figure out, gee, she no bigger than me. Wonder what's going to happen when we get there. And we got there. Marian asked a couple questions. This lady came in, and she needs some help, and nobody would help her. And I want supervisors to come out here and help her. And they were really snotty. And in those days, we had manuals that was this thick. And she picked up a manual, and she threw it, and she hit the worker in the chest. Wow. And I thought, she's crazy. Let me look at this. Everybody running all over the place. Before I left that office, I had food stamps, I had health care, I had rent money, I had some of everything. And I thought, I know who General Baker is. I'm just meeting her, and she's got this organization she works with called Welfare Rights. And I need to do something about that. Call Maryann Mahaffey. You know this group? Yeah, I know this group, Welfare Rights. And I started to get involved with that. So now I got all of this historical baggage. Black Bottom and Papa and this and this and this. And now I'm at a place where I got this young woman in my life who says the issue that you need to focus on is why there's so many people poor, black, white, and whatever else. Opened up a whole new world. She used to tell us all, join Welfare Rights and see the world.
So,
wow.
As you speak of that in General Baker Institute right now, and actually Maryann's right outside the door, and for years, someone, even through the Carolyn interview I had, which was so eye-opening that Maryann's traveled the world.
Yes.
In speaking about this advocacy and that work. Definitely, like Carolyn would be like, yeah, you know, I just wake up and my mom would be like, yeah, I'm going to be in Paris next week and then I'm going to go to Angola. Like,
I'll call you
weird.
from there.
Yeah, just, you know.
Yeah.
So, this organizing that definitely stands, and you're, these, I would call them matriarchs in leadership, definitely in Detroit, but national and international scope as well, have made connections with you, and now see so much more of the talent in you. What do you think it was that that they saw in your work and what you were doing that led them to pour into you and offer that opportunity?
You know, I often wonder about that, and I have concluded a long time ago that the influences in my life were put there by the Spirit. Because I could have got down those steps with those guns, me and there, and we would have ended up killed or in jail. Anything bad could have happened along the way, but however it was, where the danger was, the Spirit moved me over here and stay away from this. And the Spirit moved me over here and say, here's the information you need to know. I don't know what it was except my hatred of poverty, which in the beginning, I wasn't looking at that. I knew I hated racism. And it always seemed like it was something else right under the surface. And so as I learned and as I become more influenced by this activity and that activity, and the Spirit keep moving me over someplace. And today, I mean, my most recent experience, and I never know how these things happen. I'm writing the previous Pope, Francis, and I'm writing him, you know, you have to do something about these water shutoffs. I'm involved in the water activity, and you have to do something about these water shutoffs, and I'm emailing him, and emailing, and had no idea that anything would happen until the day my cell phone rang. Hello? And it was a guy from New York with an accent talking about Pope Francis wants you to come to Rome and have a discussion about this water problem. Who is this? And I didn't believe it. I had this conversation. You got to come over here because we've been reading all these emails and his advocacy, and you hate poverty and you hate all these things that are going on, and he wants to know more. I can't go to Rome. It's further than Highland Park. I can't go to a place like that. And the guy on the phone ended up being the nuncio, which is the high person in the Catholic Church that handled a lot of the business in America. And he said to me, we know that you're reluctant, and I'm not fooling around. We have your email address, and I'm going to send you the ticket information that you need. I said, no, I don't know if this is a scam or not, but, you know, I can't go that far, you know, without my son. The nuncio said, yeah, we know. We're sending you 2 tickets. And check your information, check your email. Wait a couple of days and look. It was 2 tickets. Prices paid, round trip to go to Rome. I told my son to buy, I don't know what this is, but we going to Rome. And we went there and landed, and there's a guy with a sign that says, looking for American advocates. Must mean us. And got in the taxi cab, and the taxi cab drove Navarre and I to the papal palace. And that's where we stayed for 6 days in the Pope's house.
Wow.
I don't know how these things happen, but it looks like the Spirit always puts me in the right place at the right time for something to happen. And my courage has always said, well, I'll take a chance on this right here. Who knew?
Now, this also aligns, like I've been doing these Detroit is Different since 2014. So it's like, as I tell people, my mind, it's like I have like I associate things, and then it like triggers different memories and things that stack up. But a lot of the initiative around, and it's so tough because I guess like the American way is always to say it's the fight on this or the fight on that. But and really looking to heighten the quality of life past the desperate position that poverty puts so many Americans in, becomes movements, and that really are waves that begin a lot earlier even than a lot of the work that Dr. King is moving towards. As it's a lot more of the, I think a lot of people think to themselves that that Dr. King's assassination dealt with a lot of what he was saying more so towards the war in Vietnam, but it's a lot really what he was saying in reference to the role of corporations.
That's right.
Responsibilities.
That is correct.
And towards what he was doing in a lot of movement of the poor people's campaigns that align with, at the time, they would say socialist or communist, and bringing different thought processes uplifted. In a more recent Detroit Next, I was glad that Malachi, the writer Malachi, we work with him, but even spoke to that we've had city council members in Detroit that look at being more of what we consider now a democratic socialist, of Denzel McCampbell speaking, but this is a lot of the work of Ken Cockrell Sr. And many others. And we're seeing this here, but in many different places. Even Conrad Mallett Sr. and others are organizing. And I only know this stuff from all these Detroit is Different.
Connecting all this.
Yes. So the movements of this, it's becoming very active, like through the 70s and definitely to the 80s and on to now, and running with it. As you're getting introduced to a lot of this work, what's the response of, I guess, definitely like family and friends, and you become more grounded in this work of advocacy and activism? What's their response? Is they're like, wow, Maureen, you how are they taking to it?
Well, the validation comes when, tearing up again, when your mother tells you, you have to be careful. My father says, you have to be careful. You out here doing all this organizing and everything. You have to be careful. My father says, don't go down south. And I said, why, Daddy? He said, that's all right. I don't want you to go down south. With you and your conversation, you'll be killed right away. What he said, that's all right. I don't want you to go south. Mama said, you got to be careful. But Mama also said, do what you need to do to change the world.
Wow.
That's validation. That means whatever it is that I can do short of just getting killed, I should do and get involved with things that make life better. And that's the message I got. I'd be upset about different things, get fired from jobs and all that kind of stuff all the time, and go to the house and lay on my mother's, at the foot of her bed. What's the matter? And I'd tell her what happened, and she would pat me on the head and say, that's all right. Everything gonna be okay. I believed that when she said that, And so the impetus to keep fighting, and I get mad, Marian, and I have these arguments. I'm tired of working class people. They will not get up and change stuff. And it didn't matter, because some kind of way my foot was on a path. My feet were on a mission. And as much as I say I'm not helping them, never again. And that would last maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and then you have to go back to your work. And that's, all of my adult life has been about the business of fighting racism and poverty. And sometimes one rises above the other, but it's always those twin towers of intolerance, those twin towers of violence, those twin towers of hatred. And so my family, how I'm validated now, mom and dad are both gone. I hear them talking to me all the time. When my cousins call me and my nephews and nieces call me, we are so proud of you. And when they say that, knowing that they're saying that because they've been following what I've been doing, and that's mom and dad telling them, when you talk to Maureen, say those words, I'm so proud of what you've been doing. If there's any kind of problem that my family has, they have a discussion, something the matter with school, something happened with my driver's license, I got a police record, I need some help, they all call me.
Wow.
And the assumption is that in some way I will know how to fix it. That's the ongoing validation for me. Keep moving in the right direction.
Now, in this right direction, something else from the Mama Amara interview that she uplifted, and really, I'm gonna pick up that mantle soon on it. But you were at New Bethel during the Republic of New Africa event that people speak to, and it's never necessarily as uplifted. But this is also those relationships of Detroit being different, of the relation between the we're looking at the Obadeli brothers and even New Bethel Church and community, and then so many people. Where she shared, I didn't think it was so many people, but it was many people there. One of those people.
The city of Detroit for a long time was the 5th largest city in the country. And, we had downtown Detroit days where everybody could come downtown and spend $2 and buy a necklace, a pair of earrings, spend $5 and buy a new suit, drawing people. Now we're talking about that's when population was just around 2 million.
Yeah.
And we had all of this activity. But you also had Mosque Number 1. And some people were over at that mosque talking about, we got to do something about this racism. And you also had the welfare department with welfare workers, Jim Walkowitz and some of them, all white, saying the welfare department is not servicing low-income people the way they should. So I'm listening over here, and here come the members of the mosque. I'm listening over here, and the welfare department is being criticized. And then I go back over to this side of town again, and here's the Fruit of Islam outside selling cakes and fruits. And all of this is part of my life experience. And I knew a lot of these folks. And what it turned out to be, the UAW, strong, and just wanted to do what was right, not only for their members, but for the community. And I'm involved in that fight. So every little piece of an operation that dealt with getting rid of these systems that I finally started to recognize is this is what capitalism is. This is how capitalism destroys people, destroys neighborhoods. Capitalism says the opposite of a democracy is socialism, and I learned that's not true. That's not true. This whole fight with Mom Donnie, and he'd already said what he was, and they did everything they could to throw rocks at him. And the people in New York said, hell no, what he's talking about is what I believe in.
Yeah.
All of these things along the way helped to influence me and helped to strengthen me, because it now says what I thought I understood 20 years ago, I was right. And I'm on the right direction to continue to say there's something wrong that housing is unaffordable. There's something wrong to say that health care ought to be automatic for everybody. There's something wrong that education needs to be able to be paid for. All of those things, there are no examples otherwise. And now here we are, when it used to be 2 million people, right around that number, they live in Detroit. Now we got 600,000 or 700,000.
Yeah.
You can't take a 1 million hit with your population and expect to be able to manage your lives. And it's so difficult to do it that way because here we go again. Here are the odds, here's the facts, here's some more odds, here's the facts. And trying to work out of a silo doesn't work. You have to put them things together. That's the fight right there. Took me a long time, 150 years, to learn that. But I could teach it really fast.
Okay. Well, you've definitely been involved in so many movements. One of my, and sometimes I guess that's just how life happens. One of my mentors, and I met so many through, rest in peace, the late great Joanne Watson. But somebody that really spoke very highly of you was Judge Claudia Morcom. And Judge Millender. I remember
Penny.
They had a they did a collective birthday, and in their collective birthday they were looking to definitely edify, uplift the work that you were leading at that time, and both of them in their life paths of engaging with community and fairness from the bench and beyond that. They look to you and definitely were like, let's uplift the work of Maureen too. You've had some very grateful honors and people that do so many different things, and just like you've been in these spaces and these rooms and seen things, but also you still stay so committed to the work even to this day. What is as you're navigating, taking the lead of welfare rights and these relationships, where do you see your work moving now that you're still so connected to?
Judge Alex Allen used to be the chief judge at 36th District Court. And however it happened again, I ended up in his pathway, and I liked him and I loved him very much. And Marian and I were down at the Welfare Rights Office, which is at that time at Cass, United Methodist Church. And poor people, homeless people. It was just a nightmare. And so I knew the judge, and so I sent him a fax. That's those days we could use fax machines, and sent him a fax. Judge, I got an idea. I've been down to your court, and a person had a court date, and the charge was indecent exposure, or a lady or a man that was engaged in selling their bodies, and those kinds of things. And Judge, they can never get out of whatever those issues are because they don't have money, and that means they can never find any place to live. So, well, what do you want me to do? So we developed a program, and the program was on Fridays he would dismiss his court case. He's at court every day. He would dismiss his court cases about noon when I showed up. And he had 15, 16, however many the number was, people that were going to be sentenced on that day for those kind of crimes. And I had already talked to those folks because he sent me the list. And I talked to him and I tell him, the judge is going to call your name, the police going to bring you out, and they're going to say, Mr. Kyrie Jones, you're charged with indecent exposure. And then how do you plead? And you say guilty. Did anybody promise you anything about your admonitions? Nope, nobody said anything. Anybody promise you any money or anything like that? Are you saying guilty because you are guilty? Yes. Okay, I sentence you to probation. I sent you to whatever the cost may be, the outcome may be, and then they take them out. Now, the way this thing really worked is I had already been to the judge's office, and he gave me the list, and I saw that these people right here had charges about them being poor. They didn't have a place to go to the bathroom. They in the alley. So you got to do something. The girls, no place for them. They didn't have enough money. Their husbands and boyfriends left them. They got 2 babies. They had to do something to try to not be homeless. So I had all that. And it was so funny when we first started it. He only would allow me to do it on Fridays. And he was right. And he would say, Kyrie Smith. And when Kyrie out there handcuffed, did you do this? Yep. Are you dizzy? Yes, I am. They would scream it. Are you dizzy? Are you guilty because you are guilty? Yes, yes. Anything else you want to add? No, I'm guilty, and I expect my punishment.
Mm-hmm.
He said, okay, I sent you to whatever. And the police would walk them out the door, shut it, take the handcuffs off, walk them a little further over where the elevator was. The elevator door would open, and the police, I told them, you always have to do this. Push them, shove them into that elevator. And the elevator went down, and the person in the elevator, ain't nobody in here with me, and would go down to the basement, and door would open, and nobody was standing there. They were free. Right? They had the paperwork that says you needed to do something and come back to your court date. A week or two later, come back. The judge has now exonerated everybody, walked off all of the charges.
Wow.
I have the application for public housing and give it to them and fill it out right there. Within a month, they had a place to live.
Wow.
That was about poverty. We never talked about it that much, the judge and I, because he said, you all are costing the city of Detroit millions of dollars, but we're doing the right thing. We did that every Friday for 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
And let thousands of people go. Some still in their public housing apartments today. This was the fight. Again, somebody put in my path that helped to open my eyes more and to create a concept where poverty was not the winner. And that was my passion. That's what I wanted to do. I couldn't figure out a way to do it, except I went and reached out to somebody that had better sense and smarter than me. Every step of the way, somebody put me in a predicament where I could help. I'm state chair of welfare rights. I can help more. I got this arthritis in this knee, and I walk around. I'm a little slower. There's nothing wrong with my brains, and my memory is still fairly intact.
Oh, you
fairly intact.
I mean, hey, it's many people that's 1/3 your age that probably couldn't recall a grade school friend. So I think you're there with that.
I mean, that is the way, and I've not changed, and I didn't want to change because I understood that the good Lord doesn't want people to be hungry. We got this regime in place right now, and I don't know what to say about these demons coming out of Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And I talk to Marian about this all the time. I don't know what we can do. I don't know what we can do because this is so bad. Yeah. But the reason the question comes up is because we're in this fight. It's not like we don't know what to do and why don't we go someplace else. No, we're in this fight. And we're going to stay in this fight until we can't stay in it no more. Nothing has changed.
Well, just knowing the work and now having so much more of a context. Thank you so much. I knew this was going to be heavy. and now it's like, we're going to have to pick up with another one next year because it's the pieces in the puzzle that I think definitely could open up about your national and international travels. Had no idea you met with the Pope about this.
Lived in his house. And they serve Genoa salami for breakfast. I thought, I should stay here.
Hilarious. I also, if someone wants to support and give, how do they connect?
You can always contact Welfare Rights directly, or if you leave a message, a couple of messages, we'll call you back, 313-964-0618, 964-0618. If you lose the number, we are housed on the 4th floor at Central United Methodist Church, right there on the corner of Woodward and Adams. People can contact us to do some volunteer work. Fred is the head of the volunteer team. You can come down and learn how to do casework. That's very difficult because we don't close cases unless it's finished. All right? You can come down and do some revolutionary work when we get ready to go to a picket line or something along those lines. You can come and go with us. Sylvia, our head of our tech team and outreach, is up and down in Bay City right now to demand that they don't cut water off for poor, low-income people in Bay City. So we have a lot of activities to offer. I can confess to you that we are not as fast in terms of mobility that we used to be, but we all got car keys, okay? We got car keys, so we can get to somewhere. We ain't got to march. We can drive over to where we have to go.
I got you.
So we would be just so humbled if your listeners and your viewers watch and decide to contact us. And we always have something for people to do. The job does not change. We hate poverty. We have to find a way to eliminate it. We hate racism. I ain't interested in changing people's minds. I'm going back to the income piece. As long as I have money, I'll be able to buy what I need to buy. And now we have trouble because we got a guy that says I'm not really interested in the needs of poor and low-income people, no matter what color they are.
Yeah, definitely.
That guy.
Yeah. Talk about it. So with that, I got to hit you with the classic Detroit is Different questions as we close. Your very first car, your make and model and year you got it.
My car or my husband and I's car? My car?
However you answer it.
Ed Taylor was my husband, and we had a blue Volkswagen. And we rode that car all over the country until the car had a cardiac arrest and just died. That was our first car. I didn't hardly know how to drive. But that was the first car I ever had my name on as a person that was part of that automobile.
Okay, where was the first place you went when you got it?
Probably to a restaurant because a Sign of the Beef Carver, even today, is one of my favorite places to go.
Okay.
And also, they had a restaurant, what was the name of it, on Woodward Avenue. I can't remember, that black restaurant, where they had a Miss Williams that knew how to make collard greens, Lord have mercy, with hardly no salt. And we went there a lot. So it was either the Beef Carver or this soul food restaurant up on Woodward Avenue.
Woodward and what?
Woodward near Euclid, near the what's the name of that place that's there now? The Co-op.
Near the Co-op. Okay.
Yeah. So it was right up there in that area. It's a black restaurant and you know, small. People thought it was dingy, but the food was to die for.
Okay.
And so Ed and I used to go there or up to the Beef Carver.
Okay. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks at Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 2 songs. What songs you playing?
Stevie Wonder, Here I Am, Signed, Sealed, Delivered.
Okay.
That would be the first one. And then the second song I would play would be People Get Ready. There's a train a-coming. Don't need no ticket. You just get on board.
We definitely love Curtis Mayfield and them impressions.
Yep,
My dad loved that all days.
Yep.
I was actually listening to that song not that long ago. A lot of revolutionary music. Even to,
don't need no money. You just get on board.
Yes. What you call it? We the people who are darker than blue.
Yep. Yeah.
And last question. You could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
I would name, we'll probably need stretches of that.
I like it.
It would be, one of them would be the Reverend Joanne Watson.
Oh, love that.
I put that block together.
Love that.
Next block would be Helen Moore.
Oh, man.
Okay, that'd be a block for her. The next block would be Marian Kramer.
Oh,
and
man.
that would be the third block. And the fourth block would be General Baker. And then that means all you'd have to do is just drive up and down them 4 blocks. Just drive back and forth, back and forth. Those would be the ones.
Well, I would definitely put, I tell you just from knowing. Helen would be near the, she'd be near the water.
Yep.
Mama Watson definitely be close to where the Tigers is playing just because of that story of her parents.
Absolutely.
And then there's half and half where Highland Park meet for General Baker.
Yep. Half here, half there. Yep.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Definitely. This was fun. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. I know it took a long while to get there, but thank you, and I'm humbled again to participate.
Beautiful. Peace.
Detroit is different.